we sort of all, unajua kuna ile tu mali tu unajuaga, unajua tu, but to worship, and even Muslims have done a good job to inculturate African cultures into their religion. Our Africanicity into the legal system. So why? The question we are trying to answer is why? Because the answer to that question is what will tell us who is afraid of AJS. Okay? Ni nani ambaye hii AJS hapendi hiyo mambo yake? Okay? Kwa hivyo sasa nyinyi mkiangalia mnaona ni nani hapendi AJS? Who is likely to be opposed to AJS? Who? Eh? So who is afraid? Who will be challenging? Who will not want AJS? The courts, the lawyers, advocates, eh? Yani wanawake wa mama, akina mama, lawyers, who else? Even chiefs. Why would chiefs be opposed to AJS? There is something we are getting from the process of dispute resolution. Who else? Politicians. Why would politicians be afraid of AJS? Because when they're in power, they want to use the power to manipulate. Yeah? Divide and rule. And AJS will come and block that. Yes, Sheikh. Yeah? Yes. International.
Why, for example,
yes.
Do we have to read our budgets in this act on the same day?
Yes.
Up there, who does not understand us?
Who is manipulating?
So wants us to
that they are comfortable with. So let's call it the global capitalist system. The global capitalist system would be afraid of AJS. All right? Anything else? I like these ideas. And they are all correct, by the way. Anyone else will be afraid? Yes, please. Policemen. Why would policemen be afraid of AJS? Huh? Mbona polisi yaogope AJS? Nataka wamaliziane wapi? Ni beneficial kwa polisi. Si ndio? Kabla hajafika kwangu. Haya, who else? Can we think of anyone else? Do is to group these people, okay, into five groups, okay. For each group, unaangalia ni nani ana fit into this group. Who are afraid of? I don't know why this one's not working. Okay. We have a problem. Hii iko stuck, I don't know why it's stuck.
I think it is the system. It is the machine.
Yeah. It's stuck.
We can restart it.
That will take long. Okay. It may freeze. Haya, nipatieni dakika moja tu. Good. We are. Higher. The first group of people, I call them human rights malcontents. Okay. Human rights malcontents. Human rights malcontents are the people who say AJS is problematic because people to AJS, they are going to suffer human rights abuses, different human rights abuses. Okay? In AJS, you send them to AJS, they'll use their African culture. African culture is, for example, very much against women. Women will suffer. They'll be discriminated against. African culture, much against people with disability. People with disability are vulnerable. They will suffer in that system. Children will suffer in that system. So there will be various human rights abuses, and especially women will suffer. The best examples they give us is SMOT. Do you remember the SMOT case? Unakumbuka? Ile Umira Kagere. Yes? Do you remember what happened? What happened? Yeah? Yeah, it was one boy who was married to SM Otieno. SM Otieno had decided him amehamia wapi? Hapa Matasia, Ngong. And he wanted to be buried there. And he lived his life with Wambui. And he made it very clear that he didn't want to be a Luo. Instead of drinking changa, he drank whiskey. Eh? Hata huko kwao hakujenga simba. Sawa. Hata watoto wake hakufundisha Kijaluo. Hata hakuwa anaenda nyumbani Christmas akiwa amebeba sofa set kama wale Wajaluo wengine. Yaani hata akaandika will. Akasema nataka kuzikwa wapi? Hapa Matasia. Lakini Umira Kagere akasema mtoto wetu lazima azikwe. Na hata kama hajajenga simba tutamjenge. Akiwa amekufa tutamjengea. Ndio tumweke huko hiyo siku. Tufanye vigil, matanga, kesho tumzike. Sawa? Nani ameumia hapo? Nani ameumia? Mwanamke ameumia, but the idea is they are using customary law, isn't it? Right? SM Otieno did everything possible to try and indicate that he had basically exited from the culture because he considered it aspects of that culture problematic for him. And people should be allowed to do that, isn't it? As part of their rights. So there, the woman ends up not participating in the burial of the husband despite her will and so forth. People give that kind of example. So, generally, we are very afraid. When you send women to culture, African culture, very bad things happen to them. They better remain in court. Because in court, you will find judges who are trained in law, who are more neutral, who have human rights at the background. They are better able to intervene on behalf of women, on behalf of children, on behalf of persons with disability, on behalf of other racial minorities. So for that reason, maybe we should discard AJS. Let all cases be decided in court. What do you guys think? It's convincing. It's persuasive. It's good reasoning, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah? It's any good reasoning. Yeah? It's any good reasoning. Yeah? Come on, yes. Up to a point. Yeah. Which point?
When I'm sitting deciding a case,
I
have not stopped being a lawyer. I have not stopped being Muslim. Somehow,
yeah.
that culture, that they call intersection of Luya Muslim, will affect how.
That intersection will still follow you to the courtroom. Yes? Yes. So that reasoning you are saying seems to be problematic up to a point. Right? Culture is carried. Culture huku nyuma ni vile tu hatuioni. Hivyo ndo tunasema. Let me ask you a question. SM Otieno case iliamuliwa wapi? Iliamuliwa wapi? Iliamuliwa kwa AJS. Iliamuliwa wapi? Na kulikuwa na human rights ya mwanamke ama kukua? Mwanamke aligandamizwa ama kugandamizwa? Alidhulumiwa ama kudhulumiwa? Na ilikuwa wapi? So here is the thing. Here's the thing about human rights. We have to against human rights. We have to admit. We have to admit. Sini ukweli? Ebu name for me some institution has listed our human rights, isn't it? Niambie moja. FGM is one of them. Lakini zile against, zile cultural ni problematic. Eh? Yes? Eh? Eh? Yes, human rights, ndio? That is true. Kwa nini mnacheka? Inaonekana kuna wale wamekataza watu na mumkataze aolewe tena. That is against human rights kwa sababu anaweza kuwa even 29 years old, maybe even younger. Alafu mnamwambia naenda, si ndio? Utakaa hapa. Si ndio? There is a problem rights of the girls, isn't it? Si ni ukweli? Eti ndio wanaweza kurithi kwa sababu wao ndio watoto. Kwani wanawake si watoto? Eti yeye mahali ataenda atarithi. Sawa sawa. Any other one? Yes. Okay? A human rights problem. Si ndio? Wana? Yeah? Child labor. Child labor. Okay? That's one. Wacha ni sawa. Haya, another one which is categorically yes. Hata kama bwana yake amekufa. Okay, that's a human rights abuse. That's a human rights abuse. Another one is also related. Hiyo tu ndio hiyo boma si yako. Boma haiwezi kuwa ya mwanamke. That a lot of those things. Or you beat her when she's dead. Okay, this is worse than I thought. All those are human rights abuses, okay? Especially how we treat widowed women, to talk about openly, especially as the inside here are doing it. Go home and confess your sins and change from tomorrow. So God will bring healing to you and you will change. But after you have changed, from tomorrow you have to start talking a different language. It is not true that it is only in AJS that, and the idea that human rights abuses only happen in spaces which we must rise above. So the thinking that yes, ni culture, wanawake watadhulumiwa, twendeni kotini. Nimewapatia tu example moja ya in the same way inaweza fanyika wapi? Kwa AJS. Tumeelewana? So the solution to the human rights problem is not to say let's abandon AJS. Actually hata kotini hawezi fika. That's the truth. Si ni ukweli? They will never even have access to court. Afadhali AJS foot on AJS. Also a lot of the 64%, tunaelewana, is to reform AJS because we already know kotini even with gonna create more problems. Tumeelewana? So there is an answer. It is true. We have to acknowledge that there is a problem. So when someone says, no, we don't want people to do AJS because AJS is bad. Speaking, that is a colonial mindset speaking. Tumeelewana? That is number one. Category number one. Sasa kuna watu wengi unaweza put there. Now the church, a lot of people in the and mainstream churches ni nani? Anglican. Nani mwingine? Nani mwingine? Basi hao wote wengi. This is an okay. I am telling you today, it is a colonial mindset. Mbona unakaa kama hujaelewa hiyo answer? Good. You have an answer to it. Haya. The second group of people are people we call the modernists. Modernists, hata wao tu si eti hawajali mambo sana ya human rights. Lakini hao nimesoma, niko na PhD. Nimesoma. Mimi nakunyonga Glenfiddich. Unakunyonga nini? Ziwa. Strungi. Mimi nakunywa Glenfiddich. Unajua hiyo ni nini? Kunywa less than 18 years, this defilement. Lazima ukunywe. Wewe ujue Glenfiddich. Hata usijue. Usijue, ukijua itakuharibu nani. So, how do you expect me as a modern person to go and start doing AJS? Hiyo ni mambo ya zamani ya nyuma. Si ndio? We should be moving forward. We should be moving away from culture. We should be moving away from AJS and moving to uko mbele. Hata breakfast sisi siku hizi sisi ni modern, tunakula sausage. Na bacon. Hatukuli ugali ya jana. We've moved on. Okay? So don't expect me to go and sit down with wazee sijui kuongea nini. Nikiwa na shida, mimi naenda kotini. I go and look for a lawyer. Na huyo lawyer anani-charge according, kwanza unasema mimi kwanza lawyer yangu ako Nairobi. Akikuja hapa Butere court anakuja amebebewa briefcase, hata si anabeba. That is my lawyer. That's what I do when I have a dispute, because I'm a modern man. Okay? And the modern way is superior to the kuwafanya mambo ya AJS ni mambo ya zamani. And all of us, we should be trying to move forward to a modern, not to continue mambo ya. Mnasemaje hiyo? It is true. Huyo ame give up, amesema it is true. Hata hii mambo ya AJS tuachane nayo tu. So it's true. We are going backwards. Si tulisema community. Absolutely. I like that. Number one, that's a good answer. We all have to remember it's a agency theory. I'll also tell you, also, people have a choice. If you want to go to court, it's fine. It's okay. If you think it works for you. But you cannot force everybody to think like that. That is also an abuse of their human rights, because you are denying them their autonomy to make that decision. That's number one. Okay? But number two, the idea that everything that is European and Eurocentric is better, right? And superior is also part of the colonial mindset. Tunaelewana? And it is no longer true. And it has been proved not to be true for so long. Okay? In fact, the example I was just giving you about bacon and sausage is a very good one. Because long ago it used to be, sasa wewe umesoma, umepata kazi nzuri, mtakuwa una sausage and bacon. Alafu sasa siku hizi, ukikula kama miaka 10, upate hypertension, sukari iende juu, ndio unaenda ukiongea na daktari anakuambia anza kupunguza nini? Sausage na wewe unakula nini? Ndio maana ni gani modern na ni gani ya zamani? Tunaelewana? Unaanzia kuambiwa by the way ile motugo ile ya kuchemsha ile mlikuwa mnakula zamani, that is the best food. Haya, mzungu akakuja akatombea hii vitu mnakulaga hapa sijui terere, managu, hizo ni baya. Tutosheni nyinyi vitu ya wazungu, cabbage, si ndio, na viazi na nini na nini. Sasa siku hizi wanatuambia hiyo terere, hiyo ni superfood. That is superfood. Amarinth. Mpaka wanaitengeneza as a powder, inauzwa pesa nyingi, na sasa hiyo walifanya sisi wote tungoe zetu. Si ndio? Wakatuambia hizo ni backwards, wao ndio wako mbele, na tukakubaliana na wao tukangoa. Si ndio? Haya, miti ni dawa. Hizi zote tulikuwa tunakula, kila kitu iko na hivi na hivi. Hata wakatudanganya, tukakata zetu, tukakata forest zetu, tukaotesha sijui miti exotic. Si ndio? Alafu sasa wameanza kutuambia, oh, these indigenous trees have a lot of health benefits. Sasa hiyo tushakata na tukaotesha Thika palm. Si ndio? Na cypress. Na tulishakata zetu. Si ndio? Sasa mnaona what is happening there is colonialism of the mind. Basically what has happened is colonialism of knowledge. Is they have just convinced us that if you look like us, then you are modern. Tunaelewana? And that is also a colonial mindset. Okay? We have to choose and pick what is good for us as Africans and what is not good. It is not true that everything that came with Europeans is better. Okay? But as human beings, we grow organically. Sometimes we change some things, we adopt some things, but we must do it out of our own convinced it's a good thing, not out of trying to mimic people we think. So if you look at a lot of Eurocentric societies, the more they become advanced, the more they want to become like us. Na sisi huku, we are running to be like them. Si ndio? Na wao wakikuja huku, in fact hata wazungu wakikuja huku wanasemaga, sirudi kwetu. Si ndio? Sirudi kwetu. Na huku tunashindaga kwa American Embassy. Tukisema mimi nikipata hiyo visa hata niona huku. Nimeenda kabisa. Nimetoka nikiendaga. Right? So that's another colonial mindset. It is not true that being modern means that we give up or our cultural heritage. Tumeelewana? Haya. Group number 3, there are those people we call neoclassicalists. Sasa hao ndio walikuwa nazungumzia pale kwa macro. Neoclassicalists. Sasa ukitaka kwenda kuambia bibi yako leo ulikuwa kumesoma, andika hiyo jina. Alafu akikuchallenge kama ni ukweli ulikuwa workshop useme, do you know about Alafu sasa atakusikiliza vizuri. Anasema my husband, tell me about neoclassicalists, or my wife, tell me about neoclassicalists. Now neoclassicalists make an economic argument. The economic argument is that we all need to give up our different cultural heritages. We all need to find a common uniform ways of dealing with issues, and especially legal issues, because when we do so, then the society becomes uniform and more predictable. There are more predictable ways of resolving disputes. When there are predictable ways of resolving disputes, then economic growth happens. But when people are having different ways of resolving disputes, economic development cannot happen because economic actors will be afraid to invest. They'll be afraid to invest because they wouldn't know which law will be used and so forth. So let's just have one uniform law, one uniform way of resolving disputes that brings certainty, that brings predictability, and then that way, we get economic development. So like all these cases were being taken to court, women in Luya land, in Butere, when they sell it, ile nakaa pale inaitwa Planet. Planet Garden. Wajenge kanauzwa na bishop. Bishop ako na eka 2, anaona anaweza iwe lazima twende kwa wazee wa Butere. It will be resolved. So afadhali tu ikae. So then I end up brought money and I could have invested. So I end up not investing. Then there's no economic development. If there is no economic development, then people remain poor. When people remain poor, they go and beat their wives. Okay, nimeongezea hiyo ya Butere. Okay? But you get the gist. You get the logic. Yeah? So again, we give up on AJS. So, but how do you respond? Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're not talking about the most important issues, the way we understand mutually.
Yes.
Down there.
Yes.
So, may I think that AGS cannot actually we cannot say that we
Yes.
let me say, Sharias are
What's your name, sir? Onani. Stephen Onani. Bishop, huyu lazima utanipatie ni mtrainer kwe trainer wa AJS. This one has potential. This one is what you say is really profound. It's very important. Right? First of all, you would realize that since morning, we've not been talking about customary law. Tunaelewana? We've been talking about alternative justice systems. There is a reason, because alternative justice system is a method of dispute resolution. It is not about customary law. The importance of that is, in alternative justice systems, sometimes people use customs, sometimes they use the Constitution, sometimes they use the Bible, sometimes they use the Quran, sometimes they use just modern knowledge. Right? It is not true that they just go there and they start remembering, what would our father have done in 1600? This is what we should do today. This is a mistaken notion about AJS. And again, it's colonial. It is just someone telling you, Africans are incapable of learning unless they are taught in a Eurocentric way. That is the only way they learn. But the truth is, Africans have always had the capacity to organically add more knowledge to already what they know and use it in their everyday lives. And that's what really AJS is today. Okay? The AJS of which we speak, to quote from the Bible, is a transformed AJS. Okay? It is one that has been immersed in the Constitution. Does that remind you of something? Oh, you guys don't immerse. Anglicans don't immerse during baptism, do you? You do? Ah, yes. I thought so. So it has been immersed in the Constitution, the way you immerse in water. And it has emerged. When you emerge, what happens? After baptism, you emerge as a new being. Sindio? But you are just using your own values. Actually, what you've done is you've completely devalued the autonomy of that individual. That is what happens. Tunaelewana? Haya. Ya nne. This we call the legocentrists and court imperialists. Okay? Legocentrists, asubuhi nikiwaambia people who have a hammer and every problem looks like a nail. These legocentrists are people who believe, most of them are lawyers, but we also have people who are non-lawyers, and especially religious people, who believe that the legal system is the only system that can truly, neutrally solve all problems in the society. Lazima iende kotini, na iamuliwe kotini. Na hizi zingine zote are inferior to what happens in court. Someone who believes that, we call them a legocentrist, because they have centered the law, formal law, as the only way of solving problems of human society. When those people become judges or magistrates, they call them court imperialists, because now they gatekeep. That is when they start saying, all problems have to be brought to me. Na ukienda kwake, umwambie, hii kitu tulikuwa naweza, tafadhali judge, unaweza nikubalisha twende to solve nyumbani. Anakwambia hapana. Mimi niliandikwa kazi na serikali kuamua nini? Kesi, na lazima niamue hii kesi. Hebu ingia pale utoe evidence. Sawa? That's a court imperialist. Okay? So legocentrists and court imperialists are one and the same. Just depends on what role they are playing. Okay? There is an obvious answer to those ones, isn't it? Right? Yes? Yes. And the thing is, it is absolutely not true that the court system, the Eurocentric legal system, is the most superior way of resolving most disputes. It's simply untrue. Okay? And there is no reason why you should believe that a young person who just finished law school, right? 3 years, because now we hire magistrates who are at least 3 to 5 years, right? And you believe that they are more able to hear and resolve complex matters resolving your society than an old woman who has been in this society for more than 60 years and has lived that experience. They have that lived experiences. But somehow we believe this magistrate, because they went to 4 years of law school and then they went to 2 years of Kenya School of Law, surely they can resolve complex cases. This woman who has lived for 60 years and has all this experience cannot. There is no scientific evidence that that is true. Simple. Tunaelewana? That is just, again, something that we've been made to believe. It is true that there are some kinds of cases that it takes technical knowledge to resolve. Okay? But it is not true that it's all cases. It is also not true that cases that have been resolved using technical knowledge come up with more just answers than those that have not used technical knowledge. Sawa sawa? Tunaelewana? Kama kuna kesi ya shamba na tunajaribu kusema shamba ni ya X ama shamba ni ya Y, you can use technical knowledge to get to an answer. Right? But you can also use common knowledge and wisdom to come up with an answer. And there is no evidence that if you use the technical knowledge, you're more likely to come up with the right answer than if you use common knowledge and wisdom. Tunaelewana? Hiyo tu ni kitu tuliouzia uoga na mkakubali. Sawa sawa? Unajua nilikutana na mtu mwingine juzi nikamuuliza, siku hizi uko Nairobi? Wa kwetu. Uko Nairobi? Unafanya kazi gani? Mimi Nairobi nauza uoga. Hiyo ndio kazi yake. There are people who have in grabbing other people's land, especially commercial land. Okay? Mtu anakuja, ana grab land yako na anaanza kujenga temporary structures. Okay? Alafu akishajenga temporary structures, anakimbia kotini. Anapata injunction. Okay? Kishapata injunction anasema status quo to be maintained. Status quo inamaanisha sienda kwa shamba yako. Na ni status quo. Na anaendelea kujenga na ameshapatia watu hizo ni amejenga kama vibanda. Wanamlend. Okay? In Kenya today, a land matter which starts at the magistrate's court, niliwaambia mpaka ifike court of appeal, takes how many years? 11 years. Na hiyo ni saa ile imeenda bila poskua. Imagine mtu ambaye amejitolea kazi yake ni kuchelewesha hiyo kesi. Hataki isikilizwe na akona injunction, status quo maintained. It's about 14 to 15 years. Now economically, if I have your land for 14 years, ishajirudisha. Tunaelewana? Ishajirudisha. Ile value of that land ishajirudisha. In fact, at the end of the 14 years naweza kukuambia chukua shamba yako kwenda kabisa bure. Na niende. Basically, what have I done? I have stolen your land for 14 years. I have made money out of it. And sasa hata naweza kukuambia let's do out of court settlement. Do that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Si niko sawa? Niko sawa? You see, because this is a business model you can use, isn't it? Now there are people who use it. Okay? So this is what we who every time ukienda kotini utasikia adjournment. Lawyer yangu hayuko tayari, lawyer yangu amesema hivi. Lawyer yangu ni mgonjwa, I am sick. I was ready to proceed but I am sick. I was ready to proceed but my mother died. Then the next time anasahau mama yake alikufa tena. Anasema mama yangu alikufa tena. Anasema but your mother died last time. Anasema no, huko kwetu tunaitaga watu hata auntie mama. Now this time it's the auntie. Right? All the time. They are gaming. Basically what they are doing is they are using the court system as a parking bay. They get disputes, they park them there so that they continue doing other things. Okay? Those are the gamers. They will be very much opposed to AJS. How do you respond to them? Yes? Yes? Well, there are many things the courts tries to do and so forth, but you know, the courts can only do so much depending on the culture of a place, isn't it? Right? Si unajua hivyo? It's a culture, it's a legal culture that determines what the courts will do, right? Which is true for everything, right? Sasa saa hizi, in Kenya, for example, right? What's the speed limit on this road out here? Huh? Ni? 50? Huh? 80? Sino mjui? Na hizi ni cathedral mnakuja kila siku. 80? 50? Labda ni 60? 110? 80? It can't be 80, this one. So unaona hatujui? Do you know, unajua ni kwa nini hatujui? Because it doesn't matter in Kenya. It doesn't. I assure you, if you lived in the US, like I did, you would know. Because ungekuwa umepewa tickets, you would be very poor right now. Ungeuza mpaka shamba. So by the time you are being given your that ticket, you will know the speed limit here. Because ungekuwa unashikwa kila siku. Why? Because only very few people actually exceed the speed limit. Lakini saizi hata ukiwa pale na useme utashika wale watu wame exceed speed limit, utashika watu wote. So instead unaangaliaga yule anaweza kukupatia kitu mzuri. Na ule haizi kukusumbua sana. Ukiona mtu ako na what car do you, is it a Prado? Ukiona Prado ya Bishop usimamishi, because unaona huyu anaweza kuwa mkubwa, anaweza kunisumbua, anaweza kupigwa transfer. Ngoja ukuje na Probox. Yes? Yes.
I was driving my small car, and so I was passing, and they stopped me. So I wondered, how did they even leave me?
Yes.
So in the conversation,
yes,
back and forth, so I told them, mimi sina hata kitu, ninajua mimi sina kitu. I only have kidogo tu nilikuwa nayo hii na ni 50.
Yes.
Sasa nikianza kuondoa gari, wakanisimamisha tena.
They discovered who you were. Sindio? You know that's what we do in Kenya, isn't it? So, the culture, when more people are doing it, it becomes harder to control, right? But when it is fewer people, when the norm, so it's about changing the norms. When you change the norms, then it becomes easier. Of course, you have to start somewhere, but it becomes easier to do. But anyway, the answer to these gamers is to tell them to go to hell. Right? Now, all the other arguments that I've given you, the 4 of them, All those are valid arguments that you can listen and respond. This last one is not something that you can genuinely respond to, because you don't respond. Mtu anakuambia nataka tu kuwa mwizi. Niambie kwa nini kuua mwizi ni vibaya. Is that an argument you can have with someone? That is just someone you say, this is not even an argument we are having, go to hell. Because someone who is telling, we want to continue misusing the courts because it works for the few people, right? So that is not a very genuine argument, okay? These are the different groups of AJS. So it's important for you to know, even as you start thinking about the way forward, what are we going to do? What kind of structure are we going to come up with, and so forth, because all of them will come after you. And you can, all the groups that you were telling me before, you can start putting them under each. So mtu akianza kuambia, lakini AJS, unaanza kufikiria, huyo ni neoclassicalist, huyo ni human rights malcontent, then you know how to respond to them. So I want to very quickly move now to the constitutional framework for AJS. Okay? And I'm going to do it very easily. Mko tayari kusoma constitutional law? Mko tayari kusoma constitutional law? Haya, it's very easy. You all know about the constitution. What is the constitution? Katiba. What is katiba? A set of rules. A set of rules that govern the country, the land. That's what the constitution is. Si mbaya kwa watu wa gender law school, si mbaya sana. Is the supreme law of the land. Okay? Supreme law of the land. Hii ndio tulijiandikia 2010 na tukasema this is our supreme law. Okay? So anything, any law, any practice, any policy that is against the constitution, ile inakuja kotini unasikia tumesema it's null and void. Sawa. So it's the supreme law of the land. Hapo ningependa tuanzia hapo. Now, if it is the supreme law of the land, as is tulijiamulia in 2010 for the first time. Tulijiamulia is it's a main it's our governing law. Then this is what Jemima told you in the morning. We start with Article 1. This is why it's important. So I'm just going to you. This is important because if you read the 1963 Republican Constitution, which we had, which we replaced in 2010, it started by saying, there shall be a republic called Kenya. Those were the first words in the 1963 Constitution. Okay? So, in other words, someone was talking like God. You know the way God said, there shall be light. And then there was light. Right? So this one started saying, there shall be a republic called Kenya. Who is creating this republic called Kenya? Who was creating it? Huh? Hey, it is silent. I don't think it's very silent. Basically, it's the Mzungu, isn't it? See them colony. Basically. There shall be a republic called Kenya. Oh, and there was Kenya. Right? So this one begins, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this Constitution. Tumeelewana? That's the first sentence in this Constitution. The sovereign power of Kenya belongs to who? Who? People of? Not the president, not parliament, not judiciary. Who? Who are the people? Ni sisi. Si ni sisi? Haya, that's number one. Then the people come and say, the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through democratically elected representatives. So directly or indirectly. Si ndio? Haya. Alafu wakakuja wakatuambia for the executive power, some of the power we've delegated to national government and some to the county government. And the same with law-making power. Okay? It can be parliamentary power, legislative power, also at the national level and at the, and then it comes to the judiciary. And this is what it says in the judiciary. The sovereign power under this constitution is delegated to the judiciary and independent tribunals. Tumeelewana? What have people done there? They have delegated judicial power to the judiciary. Tumeelewana mpaka hapo? Watu wametuambia we are sovereign, but we've delegated judicial power to the, that's Article 1. Nataka tu muangalie vile inaenda. It's very logical. Article 1. People have declared that they are sovereign. They have delegated judicial power to the judiciary. Okay? Now, you know when you delegate power to someone, you can give them conditions under which they should use that power. Isn't it? Ni kama sasa wewe ukitaka mtu akuuzie gari, that person is your delegate. Isn't it? Umemdelegate power ya kukuuzia gari. Lakini unamwambia hii gari lazima uuze pesa fulani. Si ndio? Na other conditions. Na haezi kukiuka vile umemwambia. Haezi enda kusema, unajua niliangalia tu market nikaona niteremshe hiyo bei. Si ndio? Kama kuna kesi kama hiyo uende ndio. Now, then we come now to Article 159. That is where the people have given us the condition judiciary will exercise its delegated power. Bado tuko pamoja? Ama kuna wale wamelala? Ama kuna wale wanataka kulala? Haya. Article 1. First of all, Article 1, people have delegated their power to the judiciary. Article 159, 2C, they give us, Article 159 yote wanatupatia conditions. One of the conditions, of course, wanatuambia, in fact, Article 151 begins by reminding us, judicial authority is derived from the people. They are just reminding us Article 1. And shall be exercised by the courts and tribunals established by or under this constitution. And then it tells us, in exercising judicial authority, the courts and tribunals shall be guided by the following principle. First one, justice shall be done to all irrespective of status. Justice shall be done to all irrespective of status. That is why, by the way, if you come to my court, Bishop Ruth comes to my court, in my judgment, I never call her Bishop Ruth. Oh, Rose, sorry. Why? Because the constitution tells me I must do justice irrespective of. If I call her Bishop Rose, na nashindana na mwingine, si tayari nishaanza ku. Unaona? Ukikuja kwangu na wewe ni honorable fulani, hata ukifile yako yote umeandika honorable, natoaga hiyo honorable. In my court you are Mr. so and so or Miss so and so or Mrs. so and so. Because people must be the same. Isn't it? All right. Kuna wakati tulisoma judgment tukaita President Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta alikasirika. But it is what the constitution requires us to do. Now, the next one says, justice shall not be delayed. Okay? Which we are really not obeying in Kenya, because we delay justice. Kwa sababu there is no choice. And then now number 3, 159(2)(c), which says, alternative justice systems shall be promoted. Tumeelewana? That is a specific condition given by the people of, given to who? It's not just general, it is to the judiciary. They are telling the judiciary, you must promote alternative justice. So they have given us the delegated power, and then they have given us the task to promote alternative justice systems. Can you now see why I'm here? You can see why I'm here, isn't it? You can see why the judiciary has an AJS policy. Because it's a commandment of the Constitution. So that we go to 159 2C. Now even after 159 2C, if you go back to Article 10, Article 10 is about public participation and good governance. And one of the things it tells us is that public participation must be promoted. It's part of the national values. And the way to promote public participation in the judiciary, saidi nafanya kesi kotini, siwezi kukuita ukuje tufanye na wewe. Si ndio? The only way you can promote public participation is through AJS. So that's Article 10, which is supporting the argument. But if you go to Article 11 again, you will find the article talking about, you read Article 10? Wacha niwasomee, by the way. It's important. Article 11 of the Constitution says, the Constitution recognizes culture as the foundation of the nation and as the cumulative civilization of the Kenyan people and nation. Did you ever know that? Culture is the foundation of our, that's in our Constitution. That's, by the way, is part of the answer to the modernist who says, mambo ya culture, nini, nini. We've already said culture is the foundation of our nation. And it talks about diversity in our culture, but it also talks about us coming up with a single Kenyan culture that is accumulated from these different diversities. Okay? How do you practice culture? AJS is one way of practicing culture. It's not the only way, but it's one way of practicing culture. Bado tuko pamoja mpaka hapo? That's Article 11. And then you go back to Article 44. And Article 44 is important because it is part of the Bill of Rights. Do you know what the Bill of Rights is? Do you know what the Bill of Rights is? What rights? Yes.
The chapter that lays out all the rights that a citizen should enjoy.
The chapter that lays out all the fundamental rights that citizens enjoy under this Constitution. Okay? That is the Bill of Rights. Kwa Kiswahili nini? Bill of Rights? Kwa Kiswahili? Eh? Haki? Mama. Wewe ndo Mtanzania wa Dodoma, tuambie. Ngumu? Haki za kimsingi. Haki za kimsingi za binadamu. Jemima, is that correct? Bill of Rights? Yeah? Bill. Mswada. Mswada wa haki za kibinadamu. That sounds correct. Even if it's not correct, it sounds good. So, let's take that one. Right? The Bill of Rights. So, the Bill of Rights is important because this is the foundation. This is what gives us the rights. Okay? Our rights now as Kenyans. This is what tells us this is what we have. This is what we gave ourselves. And our Bill of Rights is different in 2010 Constitution because in the previous one, it was the state giving us these rights. In this one, tunasema, si unakumbuka we are the sovereign. Tunasema these are the things the state cannot take away from us. Okay? From us. This is why unasiaga Gen Z wakipigana na president wakisema we have a right. We have a right to demonstrate. It's in the Constitution. You can't take away from us. Mwezi kutuambia eti tuende tufundishwe adabu na mama yetu tusiende kwa street. It is our right. You can't take it away. It's not you who gives us. Sawa sawa. Of course it takes a little bit of time for people to learn. Kama polisi bado huwa wanafikiri wao ndio wanatupatia ruhusa ya kwenda kwa maandamano, sasa ile wametupatia permit. Right? And that has changed under our Constitution. Our Constitution tushajipatia hizi rights. Now Article 44 is part of the Bill of Rights. And it says Every person has a right to use the language and to participate in the cultural life of the person's choice. That's the Bill of Rights. A right to practice your own culture. Part of your culture is AJS. Sindio? Which means you have a right to practice it if you want. And there is nobody who can tell you, don't practice it. You must go to court. Tunaelewana? It's in the Bill of Rights. Why is that important? That means even the state cannot take it away from you unless it has good reasons. That is why now I'm going to Article of the Constitution, which says before the state can take any that's in the Bill of Rights, it must justify in a written law. It must justify why it is limiting that right. Okay? So before any judge, any MP, any member of the executive tells you, you can't practice AJS, then they must justify why you cannot practice AJS. Tunaelewana? Because AJS is part of your Bill of Rights. Okay? But lastly, that is still part of the Constitution is Article 159.3. Remember when we read Article 159.2c, it said the judiciary shall promote AJS subject to clause 159.3. And 159.3 of the Constitution says this. This is important to remember. AJS mechanism shall not be used in a way that A, contravenes the Bill of Rights. That's obvious, isn't it? You can't use it in a way that contravenes the Bill of Rights. 2, that is repugnant to justice and morality, or results in outcomes that are repugnant to justice or morality. And C, in any way that is inconsistent with this Constitution or any written law. Tumeelewana? So you cannot use AJS to promote any practice that contravenes the Bill of Rights. Sasa ile mambo tunaongea about human rights malcontents. Mmeanza kuona mali inaingia? Basically, the Constitution says if you're going to practice AJS, you cannot practice it in any way that undermines the human rights of anybody, including women, including persons with disability, including widows, including orphans, including children. Tumeelewana? And if you do so, any action you take, even if it's under AJS, is null and sio ni rahisi. Si ni rahisi. Constitution says we are sovereign, gives judicial power to the judiciary, tells the judiciary it must promote AJS, then says AJS is part of culture which must be promoted, which must be protected by the state. The state cannot take it away unless there is a good reason to take it away. But in practicing that culture, in practicing that AJS, we cannot contravene the Bill of Rights. We cannot discriminate against anybody. We cannot abuse women. We cannot abuse children. We cannot do anything that contravenes the Constitution. Sini rahisi? This is where I tell you, therefore the AJS of which we talk about is new AJS. Whatever AJS looked like 2010, this is a new one. It's one that now has been immersed in the Constitution, and it has emerged under 159.3, looking anew, looking afresh. Tuko sawa? Very simple. That is the constitutional basis of AJS. So there's nobody then who should tell you when you're practicing AJS, but what about the Constitution? What does the Constitution say about AJS? Now you know what the Constitution says about AJS. But now let me ask you a question. If this is true, if that is what the Constitution says about AJS, and I showed you the statistics in the morning, right? And I told you what percentage of cases go to AJS right now? 64. What percentage of cases go to court? 17. Which one is bigger? Yeah? AJS. Right? So then why do we call it alternative? Eh? So ni kama it doesn't apply to here. Ni kama wale watu wanakuwa na bibi wawili. Bibi mdogo anakuwa yupi? Ama nyumba ndogo inakuwa gani? The first one or the second one? Which one is the alternative? Eh? Which is the alternative? Nyumba ndogo ndio huwa alternative, isn't it? Yes? So, why do we call it alternative? If they hear more cases, 64%. Why is it alternative? Yes. Huyu jamaa amesema it's mindset. Huyu amesema it's not hard by trained judges. Yes? Huh? It is heavily funded. The judiciary. Oh, the judiciary is heavily funded, so it is not alternative. Uh-huh.
This one is informal.
Yes? This is informal. Uh-huh. Was your hand up? How much that's how you look when you are bored. Eh? It comes to supplement. But if one is 64 and one is 17, which one is supplementing which? Eh? Yes. Uh-huh.
It has the same objective.
It has the same objective. So, but why is it alternative then? If it has the same objective, then we should call it core justice system. Why do we call it alternative justice system? Yes?
Because the other one is come first.
Uh-huh.
And this one now is just like supplementing it.
This one, the other one came first. Did it come first? No. Yes? Yes, Mama France.
It was based on the British justice system, which had no relation to the culture here.
It was best. So, but why do we retain the name alternative now? Na wa British system tulishawa fukuza. Sorry, wewe ulibaki. Lakini tulishawa fukuza, eh? Why do you still call? Yes. Yes. The first one has failed. It's congested. Oh my gosh, it has failed. Aki sasa hata umenihurt. Nime catch feelings. Eh? Ah.
Ni kwamba tunaye hakimu ambaye
Aha.
hata anakaa kwa mahakama ya juu zaidi
Aha.
anaipiga debe.
Oh. Kwa hivyo ni vile amesucceed.
Anaipiga debe na iko hapa nasi leo.
Ndio sababu ni alternative. Yes ma'am.
It's alternative because
Uh-huh.
people have preferred.
Uh-huh. Most people have preferred. So why is it alternative? Then the main. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You guys listen to this one. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Please, guys. Let's just listen to this one. Uh-huh. Yes.
The legislature, executive, and judiciary.
Uh-huh.
This AGS comes under an umbrella of the judiciary.
Uh-huh.
Judiciary is the main.
Yes.
So this one becomes the alternative
Yes.
to the judiciary.
Mmemsikiliza vizuri? Here is the thing. Remember, tulianzia na article 1. Nakumbuka article 1? Article 1. We, the sovereign people of, we delegate judicial authority to, tumeelewana? We delegate, which is the main? Na ni si tumesema. Si judiciary imesema. Si tumesema. We delegate it to the, and then we've told the judiciary it must promote the other one. That is the default. Relationship then with ADR. We've heard about alternative dispute resolution. Okay? And I want to combine that relationship. Okay? Now, simply it's this. The mother of all alternatives to court. Okay? The mother. Then think about all these other things that we call ADR as different methods of resolving disputes. Mediation is a very specific method of resolving dispute. Conciliation, alternative justice system, is everything brought together. So mediation is a subset of AJS. Mediation is not in competition with AJS. Tuko sawa? It is not in competition at all. It does exactly the same. Tumeelewana? Umeona mama akipigana na mtoto? Wakishindana na mtoto, eti nani mkubwa? Inawezekana? Haiwezekani. People who are mediators, right? They go and they are taught how to resolve. And in mediation, for example, you don't even decide anything. You facilitate, isn't it? Right? If you have AJS, ukienda kwa wazee, unaweza kukuitwa kuna panel ya wazee 5. Wacha tukuexplain kwa nini wewe uko na makosa. Si ndio? Na wako convince. The only thing is that mimi nasema nimeangalia hii kesi na iko hii. Iko hivi. If you don't like it, shauri yako. It's only that 9% of the cases someone agrees to go with what they have said. You don't decide. You facilitate, naambia back in competition with AJS. Tumeelewana? Now, the reason court annex mediation is facing challenges. One of the reasons court annex is facing challenges, it is an African. In fact, many mediators have a very difficult without evaluating. Because as Africans, we are used to created solutions or always evaluative. Mfanye kesi alafu waseme we are just trying to facilitate, muongee bado hamjakubaliana, turudi kesho ni tuna facilitate. Itafikia tu mahali waambie wacheni ujinga. Wewe unajua uko na makosa. Kubali. Na kama uelewi kwa nini uko na makosa, tuambie tuwekeleze, si ndio? That is the African. Unawapeleka hivi, it means I'm just facilitating, not even telling you. Anaangalia naona hii ni mchezo. So it's an African. That's one of the challenges we have. But the second reason we have is because it's also actually sustainable. Okay? Because the mediation comes from the judiciary. Judiciary is the most underfunded arm of government. Okay? Do you know what our budget is as a percentage compared to the national budget that is read every year? Do you have any idea what percentage? Do you think it's 10%? If you think it's 10%, mkono? 5%? 4%? You don't know. Right, now let me tell you. Our budget is 0.7%. 0.7% of the national budget. Tumeelewana? Huh? Not even 1. 0.7%. Now, Parliament has 2.5% of the judiciary. Right? Parliament has how many buildings it maintains? 1, 2. So let's call them 3. Right? 3. Judiciary has how many? Yeah? Right? 135. 135 employees. They are not thousands. They're actually, the last time, if there are many now, there are 1,000. Let's cap it at 1,000. Judiciary has how many employees? Throughout Kenya. Because we have building throughout Kenyans. We have presence throughout Kenyans. Right? About 11,000. Like our establishment. See why it is really, really, really underfunded. So if we, for example, going to the question of sustainability of rethink, the truth is we have to think our model of justice, and we are all in the process of changing. Right? So if, for example, many of us understood, and this is a conversation we started having with Parliament, that actually the 0.7% which you give to the judicial, right? And we have a conversation about what you should be the 64% plus the 19% we want to create access to justice for. Do you get it? That will require changing the narrative about justice in this country. Meanwhile, since we are trying to do all the right things, including getting access to justice to those who don't have, that is why we are talking with people like you. Even as we are changing this narrative about justice. Tunaelewana? Tunaelewana? That is it. But remember what we are doing, and what I hope you've realized by now. Do you realize it is? Do you realize it's radical? It is radical. It is radical because if we pursue it to its end, number one, you can imagine if everybody in Kenya had true access to justice, and it's an access to justice that's in keeping with human rights that are in the Constitution, you can imagine this country will look very different. This country will look very different. This Butere will look very different. Imagine all those women you minister to who have no access to justice, who are subjugated. Imagine now they have a model of justice that follows the Constitution, that says they have their human rights at the right. Imagine what it would look like. Do you think they're going to be lining up to receive 50 shillings from politicians so that they vote for them? They won't, isn't it? Because they will have their justice. Do you see it? Do you see how it will change? Do you see why we have to change the narratives about justice in this country? Because when we do, that is when we'll have the true transformative change in this country that our Constitution wants in 2010. Tunaelewana? That is why when you get recruited into this AJS movement, you become part of the change movement in this country by necessity. By necessity. Because when people have true access to justice, one of the things that will happen, we will almost eliminate poverty, because our poverty is manufactured. About not sharing our prosperity. That is where it's about having very inequitable relationships, for example, between men and women in the society. Okay? It is about subjugating widows and orphans, persons with disabilities, and so forth. Those are the true places where we get poverty manufactured in this country. If all these people had true access to justice, it would be. When we start dividing those resources differently, when people get different voices of what they can do, ecosystem. Tunaelewana? At that point then, we might have having different conversations about sustainability, but we shouldn't put the cart before the horse. Tunaelewana? Tunaelewana? Very good. Let me just, what's the time? Okay. 15 minutes. Had in AJS. Tumeelewana umuhimu wa AJS so far, si ndio? Setup, si ndio? Tumeelewana the relationship between AJS and ADR. Now let's talk about then what of case can be heard in AJS. Okay? I want to do this very easy. Remember, Bishop, please remember what we are doing today is. Kwa hivyo hata kama kuna kitu hujaelewa sana, tafadhali usijipige na Professor alikuwa anataka tu tuelewe the whole contour, lakini lazima turudi for 4 proper training. Proper training is tunapita. Kwa hivyo kama hujaelewa, kama kuna kitu hujaelewa sana, tutarudi sasa tufanye proper. Kesho si training, kesho tunakuja kuzindua. Kesho tunakuja kuzindua lakini tutakuja tu wakati mwingine, siku ile tutapanga na Bishop. Let me just give you an idea of cases then that can be heard through AJS. Let's do it this way very shortly. Assume there is a case of, number 1, kijana ameiba kuku kwa neighbor. Okay? So theft, chicken theft. Chicken theft. Unajua nimetumia hiyo jina ya chicken kwa sababu huku ni important. Zile vitu very important huku Uluyani kuiba ni nini? Kuku na radio. Kuku na radio, si ndio? Radio, wewe. Niliona story ya kijana aliiba radio mpaka amesulubiwa bwana. Did you see that story? Hapa Kakamega. Radio kwanza ya Sanyo. Very seriously by elders. Akasulubiwa, akapigwa msumari for real. Anyway, so let's say chicken theft. Number 1. Umeandika chicken theft. Haya. Number 2. Right? Assault. Assault ni ile mtu amepiga mwingine. Amempiga tu, amemkwaruza. Assault. Hiyo tuite simple assault. Umeandika simple assault. Haya, number 3. Grievous harm. Hii ni assault lakini iko serious. Umepiga mtu na amemvunja mkono. Yeah? Amemvunja mkono ama amemkata na panga, mkono karibu itoke ama imetoka. Hiyo ni grievous harm. That's number 3. Number 4. Watu wawili tu wameenda, watu wanakunyonga pombe gani huko? Changa? Busa. Hata changa iko? Wacha tuseme tu nyinyi hamjui. Ama mnaogopa kusema kwa sababu Bishop ako hapa? Hatutaki kuonekana mnajua sana. Haya. Busa. Vijana wawili wameenda kukunywa busa, huko wamepigana. Sio vile watu wamekunywa busa wamepigana tu. Ile kupigana eti mimi ndo unaniambia hivyo. Mimi ndo mmoja ameanguka, amekufa. Right? Hiyo ni manslaughter. Amekufa. Haya. Last one. Mtu ameamua na ndugu yake alimnyang'anya shamba, ameorganize watu wale kulikuwa wale waizi walikuwa wanaitwa Msumbiji huko. Bado wako? Ameenda ametafuta wale wa Msumbiji, wale waliachiwa juzi. Mumalize na niko na 10,000. Mendeni puta ndugu yake wamekatakata yeye amekufa. Right? Lakini imejulikana sasa hiyo ndio kesi. Hiyo ni mada. Si ndio? Hiyo ni mada. Kati ya hizi fanywa AJS na ni gani haziwezi fanywa AJS? Hebu just spend 5 minutes to take your neighbor, just 5 minutes. Which ones? Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5. You can take a health break as you do. Unajua hii way forward, they are not really ready. We let the bishop take the lead. So that and it's also a little bit premature because kesho during the kuzindua nafikiri atasema more about it. So we leave it very
okay, sorry.
yeah.
I think
I'd forgotten that when so we won't quite do. So once I finish here, I just invite her. Yeah. Benchmarking. Okay. I will call her and then she'll say what she feels comfortable saying now and then. Are you okay, sir? You're looking disturbed. Oh, that's a good thought. Thank you. Because we clearly have, haven't we? Yes, yes. Haya, tuko sawa? Turudi. Ama bado mnafikiria? Haya, good. Haya, chicken theft. AJS ama si AJS? Who says no AJS for chicken theft? Everybody says hiyo ni AJS. AJS, okay. Haya. 100%. Oh, kuna mmoja anakataa pale. And
100 of them are stolen.
Is that? Anasema kama kuku zikiwa nyingi sana hiyo iziende AJS. Depends on, yes. It's not AJS. Chicken theft is not AJS. And why? Theft is serious. Unasema theft, the point there is that theft is serious. Offense. It's an offense against the state, so it can't go to AJS. Okay? Yes, please. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Everything that deals with. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. All those. So umesema yote. Uh-huh. And you wanted to say? Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, well, it depends on the manner of theft. We have a lawyer here. It depends on the manner of theft. If he broke a door, that is robbery with violence. It can't go to AJS. I like that. Uh-huh. Yes.
Since this was initially it was our role
Uh-huh.
and is dedicated to the judiciary,
Uh-huh.
we need to establish and determine these cases
Uh-huh.
through AJS.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and when maybe matters maybe we can see
Yeah.
the experts,
Uh-huh.
then we can take it further.
So chicken theft, definitely. AJS. All of them. Huyo amesema zote. Haya, Huyo amesema kama mbaya ni mbaya, kufa dereva, kufa makanga. Zote ziende AJS. Okay. Yes. Haya, hiyo ni maoni tofauti. Okay, sasa let me answer that directly. Sasa passionate about AJS, right? Hii mambo yote, so I chaired the task force that came up with the policy. So there is the AJS policy. Kama wewe ni msomi sana kama ule professor, we have the baseline policy. It has a lot of explanation, a lot of historical background, a lot of the things that you're talking about. But if you just want to know the basics, there is also the abbreviated version, the AJS policy. They are both available. So that's really, they are available and they are easy. A lot of the things that I'm saying will be found there. The book I'm going to write now will be based on our experiences after implementing the AJS policy. So that we can now talk about how to make it better, how to make it sustainable, and things like that. Sawa. But we are going to send you the link. Unfortunately, because our budget is only 0.7%, a lot of the copies, but they are available online. Yes, it's being. Was there Juliet, Reverend Juliet, or who? Okay. Yeah, mtatumiwa at least online, unaanza kuanza kuzisoma. Sawa. Asante kwa kuuliza na asante. So sasa ile tutakuja training takuta mmesoma hizo vitabu kabisa. Sasa iwe tu ni kubrush. Haya, sawa. So simple chicken tunajua watu wengi wanasema inaweza enda, lakini kuna wale wana contrary view. What about simple assault? Wangapi wanasema AJS? Wengi wetu wanasema AJS. Haya, what about grievous harm? Mtu amevunjika mkono. AJS? Wangapi wanasema AJS grievous harm? Wangapi? Let me see, show of hands. Hii ni minority. Okay, the nays have it. Haya. Wengi wanasema haiwezekani. Haya, manslaughter. Wamepigana kijana, mmoja amekufa. Wangapi wanasema AJS? Only 4. Only manslaughter. 5. 5. Okay. All right. Murder. 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 3. Hata wewe siweke mkono juu. Aha. Haya, hata mada inaweza fanyika. Haya. Sasa bracket that. Nani anakumbuka board mass? Haya, nakumbuka board mass? Nani anakumbuka board mass? Ilikuwa nini? Bracket of Very good. Bishop uko sawa tu. Watu wako wako sawa. Vitu za zamani bado. Haya. Now, I want to give you the board mass for AJS. Board mass is a formula, si ndio? Sasa in AJS, there is a formula which tells you whether a case can be heard through AJS or not. It's that simple. Unaona? It's that simple. So that you don't have to keep remembering. By the way, Professor alisema theft, ama akusema sasa hii ni formula tu. Unatumia hiyo formula, unaangalia, ukikuta inaweza fanyika, inasikizwa. Kama haisikizwa, haisikizwi. Sawa sawa? This is the formula we'll give you, which is in the AJS policy. Very simple. Lakini hata usipoelewa leo, as I have told you, there will be a proper training which will go in depth. But this is just to give you an idea. Jurisdiction is the authority of, has 2 tests. Hata si kama board mass. Board mass is too complicated. This one has 3 tests. It asks, the first question it asks, we call it the positive test. It asks, did the 2 parties or the different parties to that dispute, those who have grievances with each other, did they consent of their own volition to be in the AJS forum, to take it to AJS? So it tests for consent and voluntariness. All I will say at this point is that that test is objective. It's not subjective. Okay? As in, the fact finder must truly test to see that the person has agreed voluntarily. It's their own volition. Because sometimes people say yes. Do you remember someone saying, I have called a press conference here to announce that I have only one family? Do you remember that story? Right? Did you look at me? I have only one. So does this person have one family or 2? Yes? Yes. Oh, I will not use that one. I'll use one doing training. I love it though. I'd never thought of that one. Yes. Not in this group. So, objective test means what you are looking is objective. Okay, you are testing to see whether someone is saying true or not. So, a woman, for example, could come to court and they are saying, mimi nimeamua kutoa hii kesi yangu nipeleke wapi? Kwa wazee. Okay? Ukiangalia nyuma yake kuna wazee kama 7. Wamesimama wanaambia, sawa, mnaona? Si useme. Ambia judge ulikubali. Then you know it is not true consent. That's why I'm saying it has to be objective. Tuko sawa? Now, the 2 parties or 3, whichever number of people, must agree to be in the AJS forum. If they do not agree, end of story. That matter cannot be in AJS. Do you know why? Because remember we said the default forum is which one? The judiciary is a default forum. That is the one that you cannot choose. All these other ones is you choose to enter. You don't choose to exit. Okay? You choose to enter. This is why SM Otieno case would be decided differently today in Kenya. Okay? Because SM Otieno was someone who had chosen. Okay? No. When he was alive, he exited. And he said, what I want is a different system. Today, that's what Article 44 is about choosing in. Someone must choose. That's why we say someone participating in culture of their own choice. They must choose to be in it. And you don't choose by default. Huwezi kusema kama vile judge alisema kwa Ise Motieno, he was born a Luo. Once a Luo, always a. Even Obama is a. Right? Because he was born by a. Right? Constitution of Kenya 2010 has departed radically from that position. It says you have to choose. You choose. You make the choice. If you were born in Butere, you can make a choice whether you want to be. What was Butere wanaitwa? Huh? Marama. Abatere. Haya, unasikia mweko. Marama. So unaona hata mnabishana hiyo. Me, I like Luyas because they are never sure about their culture. They are not like Luas. Yeah, they're small little clans. Ndio. I thought hapa ni kwa kina. Butere is a bigger one. Marama is the community. Aya, siku hiyo tutakuja siku nyingine, we will spend 30 minutes figuring out which one is bigger and which one is smaller. Eh? She's become so interested in this question. Hey, these are people of God. Wachana na wao bwana. They have been reading the Bible too much. They have forgotten about their clans. That's okay. That's allowed. So, they're like Jews exactly. So remember, the point is you choose to be. Okay? So that's what you are testing there. If the answer is no, if one of the parties says, I do not want to be in AJS forum, end of story. End of inquiry. That matter cannot be in AJS. Whether it's simple or small. Whether it is small, big, whatever it is. The matter cannot be had in AJS. It has to go to court. Tumeelewana? Higher. That's a positive test. Then we go to the negative test. Okay? Si uende wachane na hiyo kitu tu upige saa hiyo ingine. Haya. You should choose to be here. Choose. Tutumia hapa positive test, right? Haya. Negative test. The positive test, we said it asks for voluntariness. The negative test now asks the opposite question. Remember Article 159(3) of the Constitution? This is where one negative test comes in. What the negative test asks, is there any constitutional text or statutory text or compelling public interest that says this matter should not be heard through AJS? Is there any text or compelling public interest that says this matter should not be heard through AJS? Matter is small or whether it is criminal woman or a man, whether it involves people, chickens. Okay? To make question must be yes, and the answer to the second question must be no. Simple. Sio ni board mass. Hiyo tunaita board mass ya AJS. That is it's as simple as that. Because what the Constitution says is that the judiciary must promote AJS. It does not say, but also 159(3) gives us the contours of AJS. Okay? So through that is how we develop this agency, the agency theory of jurisdiction. Is by reading the Constitution as a whole. Okay? What the Constitution allows and what the Constitution does not allow. Okay? So, now, let's use board mass, AJS, to answer these questions. Manslaughter? Murder? As long as they have agreed, he says. As long as they have agreed, it can be heard. Okay, here is the thing. First of all, who determines if it's murder or manslaughter? That's usually the problem. Right? Right? Yes? The doctor. How will the doctor know? Of death. Sindio? It doesn't determine motive, isn't it? So, who determines that? Usually. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Most murders can be taken to AJS. Most of what is charged as murder. Because what happens today is as long as someone died, the police will charge you with murder. And then it's for the court to determine if it's manslaughter or murder. Okay? So usually someone has died. So I should say that most of what is charged as murder can actually go to AJS as long as the family of the deceased and the accused person has agreed that it can go to AJS. Tumeelewana? However, there are particular kinds of murder which, because of compelling public interest, should never be heard through AJS. Do you want me to give you an example? Yeah? Mnakumbuka mtu anaitwa Albert Ojwang? Mnakumbuka Albert Ojwang? Now imagine ule mtu aliua sijui ni nani? Sijui? Sawa, sijui ni nani? Ule mtu aliua Albert Ojwang, imagine akikuja kotini aseme, enyewe ni mimi niliua Albert Ojwang, lakini nimekubaliana na baba yake. Right? Do you think it should be allowed to go to AJS? Public interest. There is compelling public interest why it should not go to AJS. Okay? All cases where someone has gone into a lot of planning to kill someone should never go to AJS. Compelling public interest would say that is the kind of case that should not go to public interest. Sawa sawa? But there are some kinds of where someone has died, it's true, but you see there is no compelling public interest as long as the members of the family have agreed. Sawa sawa? Tumeelewana? Mimi nimekaa kwa kesi Nakuru, baba ya msichana amekuja, aliuawa na bwana yake wakipigana. Prosecutor amekataa kutoa withdraw kesi. Kijana ako ndani kwa sababu haja afford bond. They have compelled the father to come and testify. Okay? Father amesema hii mambo tulimali. They were Maasais from Narok. Hii mambo tulimaliza. I am not coming to testify. So the previous judge had issued a warrant of arrest. The father has come. Skule amekuja ananikuta, I was new in Nakuru. Kesi ikaitwa. Huyu mzee akakuja hapo mbele. Akaniambia, "We kijana, mzee wewe unahusiana na hii kesi?" Yes. Nahusiana na hii kesi. Na niko na swali. Nikamwambia, "Uliza swali." Huyu msichana alikufa. Alikuwa mtoto wako? No, seriously, this happened. Alikuwa mtoto wako. Kamwambia, "Hapana mzee. Na mbona wewe nasumbua mimi? Hii mambo tulimali." Sasa we kijana baba ya watoto tayari umemweka mimi na mama yangu badala ya kuenjoy uzee wetu tunalea nani? Wajukuu. Ama niletea wajukuu wewe uangalie. Mnaona? Haki niliachia huyo mtu in the next week. Because the truth is, they have finished. You look, there is really no compelling public interest why this case should be going on. Why this person has been in remand. Actually, it was 2 years. where this person has been in remand for 2 years. The children are suffering. They're at home with the grandparents. Why? What is the point? Wanasema tulimalizana. Hii kesi tulishamalizana na tuko sawa. Who am I to determine what their justice should look like? You see the point? The point is, you always ask the question, whose justice is it? Is it yours? Right? And the problem we've had in this country is because of before the 1963 Constitution, we always used to say all criminal cases, my cases belong to the state. That's not true anymore. Cases has a stake. This is where actually compelling public interest comes in. Because it has a responsibility to ensure law and order, but the cases do not belong to the state. In fact, the primary stakeholder in a criminal case is the victim. Okay? It is not even the state. So if the victim of the crime tells you, I'm okay, justice to me looks like this, right? You have to think really hard before you tell them, no, justice should look like this, right? Isn't it? For you to say, no. Justice must look like this. For justice to be met, I must jail this person. That's when justice would have been done. Who are you? They have told you I'm the victim, and justice to me looks like this. As long as you test and you make sure that it's an objectively, that is what they want to follow it. Now, let me ask you one last question. Defilement. Unajua defilement? Yeah. What is defilement? Okay. Carnal knowledge of a minor. That's called defilement, isn't it? We don't even use the word rape because rape implies consent, right? Right? But for minors, right? It's strict liability. It doesn't matter whether there was consent or no consent, isn't it? We don't test for consent. It's not one of the elements. As long as it's carnal knowledge with a minor, that's defilement, right? Now, can it be had in AJS? With consent of with consent of? Yes. Yes, why? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Listen to me. And write it in capital letters. Defilement cannot be heard through AJS. And if there is a mistake you will ever make, is to subject defilement to AJS. That's the day AJS will die. Tumeelewana? Write it down so that you will remember. It cannot. Why? Because we are dealing with a minor. Positive test. The minor is incapable of consenting to being in the AJS forum. If it involves a minor, it must go to the default forum, which is the court. End of story. Tumeelewana? But when it comes to defilement also, now you must know that also when it comes to the negative test, Sexual Offences Act also says defilement cannot be negotiated out of court. So there is also a written law. So it will fail the positive test, it will also fail the negative test. So end of story, defilement cannot be heard through AJS. Now, you have a rough idea about how it works, isn't it? Now, you have a rough idea about what kinds of cases can be heard through AJS, and now you know most cases can actually be heard through AJS, whether they are criminal or civil, and you have an idea about the test that is used, isn't it? and you now have arguments of the imperatives of AJS. You know how to respond to the critiques and challenges about AJS. I would say that this is a very good place to end this workshop. In fact, I think you are saturated with knowledge. Sasa karibu tufikie mahali inaitagwa the law of diminishing returns. Right? When you give people too much, wanaanza retain. So, Bishop, I would like to end here. I think you all have a very good idea why you need to come for the training, right? Right? Consider this a teaser, a trailer of what is taught, but there's a lot more that needs to be taught. Now, usually at this point, one of the things we start doing is to start saying, okay, now that you understand what AJS looks like, now you understand what kind of cases can be had through AJS. Now that you understand what are the kinds of cases that are prevalent in your area, can we start thinking about what it could look like in this space? Okay? But today, all I want to say is, now as you go back to your parishes and different places that you occupy, start thinking actively. What could AJS look like? What would you say that the diocese should support AJS to look like in this place, so that you truly animate the idea of AJS? What structures can it take? Should it take? Should it mean that maybe all we need to do is to support and facilitate autonomous mechanisms that already exist, so that the church doesn't have to have its own structures? Or do you think there might be a problem with those ones, so it might make sense for the church to have its own structure? Do you think maybe what you should be supporting is hybrid structure? All those things are things that you need now. You need to start thinking about. Now that you have all the knowledge that you have, you can consider that advanced knowledge. You can just keep sedimenting them, so that now when we come and do the training, the last day of the training, you start saying, now, let's think about a model for Butere that's supported, for example, by the ACK Diocese of Butere, of what AJS could look like. Because it doesn't have to look like the Nakuru one. It doesn't have, this is the beauty about AJS, right? When we set up courts must look the same. The court in Butere, the procedures it uses must look like the one in Kajiado, okay? Because it's the default forum. But the beauty about AJS is that you tailor, make organically. Yeah, it's like having your own tailor. You know, you decide this is how I would like the dress to look like. Because given the circumstances, you know, given how much clothes you have, you know, given the occasion, you decide it could look like. That's the same thing about AJS. So start thinking creatively, innovatively, reflectively, prayerfully about all those things. And then now when we come after the training, then it will become, those things will start coming forth. They'll start crystallizing. So that then you can take your justice and reconciliation mission to the next level. And so, without further ado, I just invite the bishop to come and give closing remarks and then give benedictions so that we can go home. For those who have wives, I envy you. For those who are like me, who are going to the hotel, let's go and rest. Sindio? All right, thank you very much. Asante sana. Please put your hands for the bishop.
Thank you so much, Prof. I can't imagine facilitating the whole day. God has given you the grace to be able to facilitate the whole day. And I wonder whether we even know that he went lunch because of this commitment. It's just amazing. I would really wish to invite the chair of the governing council of ICMA, because where we are seated is ICMA. It's a facility, and Prof, just thinking forward, me, I see opportunities here, a lot of potential for us to begin, but we will need to be trained. So we will be careful to ensure, but we have the potential, we have the structures. When I see Justin, yes, Justin and now Ibrahim went, and several of us, my brother from Kakamega, let's invite Professor Mombo, the chair of ICMA Governing Council, to make a few remarks, and I will only do benediction. Thank you.
The bishop is giving me a space to be a bishop soon. She should ordain me first. Okay. For theologians, I'll be St. Augustine, deacon, priest, and then bishop. But when Butere has spoken, bishop is we, eh? When Butere has spoken, I cannot say no. First and foremost, I want to extend to our facilitators. She just reminded me that I preached in a church where she was every day, but I would also be, if you give me time, I would be pulling your leg as you speak. But you are very clever, you didn't. And I was thinking of funny examples I could give you, but you did not look at me. It's a real joy to be here this afternoon and to participate in this training, retreat, whatever name you give it. But it's good that those of us who do other things to come and sit and to hear something else that we struggle with, but we don't know what to do. The definition of theology by Masiamba Uduyoye is theology is what we struggle with. It's not what we get from a package and we open it, but it's what we struggle with. And today, Prof, you've really brought to light what we struggle with. I come from a home of two traditions, and each time there's a crisis, we don't know whether to follow the tradition of my mother or the tradition of my father. It just depends on who argues most at the time. And they get their way. And as he spoke about AJS and the Constitution, I could see the Constitution is the book. It is there. It's a book. We could easily be saying, the Bible says. And for theologians, when you say the Bible says, of course, you've closed out any argument. And maybe you didn't have an answer. So you just say the Bible says. But where is the AJS? Where is it? Yeah. Where is the AJS? Where is it? I want to touch it and do this. I know, I like okay? And that is why it is alternative. That's why it is alternative, so it's under. But it is an important alternative. Whether you look at it as alternative, it's an important alternative because it allows us who are not lawyers to talk about it. Article 159, Article what, Bill of Rights, what is that? That is for the learned friends. AJS is something that we bring to light and we say, this is where it hurts. The chicken has been stolen. And chicken in Western Kenya is not only a social thing, it is a theological thing. It is a very married somewhere, they would say, that family is so poor, they don't even have a chicken. So economically, it has a place. So thank you so much for this. And for me, like Bishop, I see possibility to come and speak to my students And I've said I'll do a public gathering, and you will say, yes. Prof, all I can say is, when I get rich, after selling the affordable, I'll invite you to come and do the training here. And on a serious note, we shall collaborate. Jemima will buy the lunch, and I'll pay for the building. So we want to say thank you. And I'll ask the bishop to come and pray with us. Thank you.
That is the joy of having several professors around you. You can't miss somebody to say and to poke your thinking. Thank you so much. Let us rise. Tomorrow, we will be gathering again for the climax of all these events. Please, those we invited from other, and I think most of you, other religious, please join us. Others will be coming who are not here, and we look forward to seeing and hosting you and to celebrate together. Milestone that is God's own doing. And so we'll say, we'll make a vote of thanks tomorrow. Today we are just excited. Tomorrow we are climaxing with everything. We're dancing a lot Sukuti, and so just prepare to dance with us Isukuti. So I'm just psyching you. Let us pray. Just take a moment to reflect on the things we have learned today. Lord, as we conclude this workshop, may the hope of a more just world fill our. May you all persevere in your commitment to righteousness, even. May we take up our rightful spaces for the justice that God is asking us as religious leaders to preach and teach. May God's love be our constant source of strength and inspiration, guiding us towards a future where justice and peace prevail. And now may the blessing of God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and forevermore. Amen. The Lord be with you. I'm reminded we will proceed to the front of this building, the main entrance, for a group photo. Tomorrow's event begins exactly 10. Is it 10? Oh yeah, 10. Please feel very welcome.